Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we are looking at DIY Details Gold Standard Polish. The all-in-one polish, as in it's a cutter, a cleaner, and a finisher, all depending on the type of pad. And they, of course, sell all the pads that you need to do that, with some recommendations of what kinds of machines to use for which steps, etc., etc. They sort of designed it around a longer stroke machine. I think theirs is a 25 mil, and they've got some shorter strokes coming out. 25 is pretty massive. That's going to cut a lot, which you'll see later explains why they went that way. They again, their other pads are not the ones I have here, so we're just looking at a one-step sort of setup, and I'm comparing it to entry-level consumer-grade polishes because if you're trying to get people into it's an easy to use detailing system, that's your target audience. It is not working pros, although you could use this and still get very good results. Their target audience is consumers and people who are intimidated and people who are looking for something that's easier and something that's quicker and just safer in general. And I think they hit the nail on the head with a couple conditions, just depending on the type of equipment you have. And we'll get into that later. Now, because, as usual, I'm a tease, this is a blind test. I am not going to tell you which polish is which while you're looking at them. I will tell you after, because you have to know. But I want you to look at the paint. I don't want you to look at the brands, look at the price, blah, blah, blah. DIY Detail has a whole lot of fans, and I want this to be a really clean observation, because it's pretty hard for me to film some of these sections and get it through the camera, but I will commentate on top to let you know what I'm seeing in real world. And of course, I will be honest, because nobody sent me this product. I bought the pad. This ain't sponsored. I don't get that kind of stuff coming my way. So this will be good for you to see the results. And then I also, because I didn't want to just polish one section with a polish and then give it an entire review, I thought, no, I need to do a whole car. And my parents' car was very muchly due for a polish. And I used the Porter cable, 5-inch pad, 5-inch waffle pad, and this, and used their rinseless wash to clean in between each sets. I don't have a pad washer, but I have a little Tupperware that fits the pad. You put a little rinseless in, you give it a squishy, wring it out, spin it out in a bucket, and keep going. So their whole system is designed for speed and ease, and it maintains a cooler pad. They have 1.5 billion videos about that system. Go watch one of theirs if you want to see a more deep dive. I didn't film any of those because I wanted to time it, and I got around the whole car minus the roof in about an hour and a half. Minus the hood as well, because I did that before. But so not a bad system at all. So let's get into the before and after. I will show the during after the conclusion, because it's a dead giveaway which polish I'm using because of the pads. These guys used Lake Country white pads, CCS, because again, that's a very common, prolific polishing entry-level pad for a couple entry-level polishes. So Ultimate Compound, Ultimate Polish, DIY Detail. Here we go. So as you can see here, we are doing the initial checks for before polishing. So this is section 1. And you can see there's a good amount of hazing and swirls, a couple bigger marks. This car has not been polished since it was purchased, and it wasn't polished before it was purchased, I can guarantee you that. So you can see there's some pretty big scratches here and there. I don't expect any of these to take that type of stuff out, but that's just your overview of the condition. And again, big fat control sections in between so that we know what is and what is not treated, and we'll compare them after the polishing is done. Because this is a inspection that we're doing, we're not just polishing and going on. We are using the DIY Detail panel wipe. Those little circles you see in front of you, that is one of the downsides of YouTube detailing comparisons, where your tape catches onto a little bit of product underneath, and then as you wipe it off, it makes a streak. But here is the after. So there is the line for control. This is section 1. And cleaned it up a lot. There's still a good amount of medium firm, not
super deep, but medium type swirling there. But as you can see, the red is much richer and darker, a lot more pop. And now we are on section 2, the control and then comparison to section 1. And right off the bat, it is a lot better, a lot less scatter spider webs. There's I'd say it's probably closer to 75%, 80% removal here and there, whereas this one's more about 55, 50. It's a lot better, but a lot of subtle scratching is still there. And now we're looking at section 3, I believe. Nope. Now we're looking at section 3. Also quite good. A little bit more spider webbing than section 2, but better than section 1 in my opinion. And again, there's some of the deep marks that we were seeing before that none of these will touch. Wet sanding's your only option with that kind of stuff, but section 2 is definitely looking better than section 1, and section 3 is looking better than section 1, but I think section 2 overall is my pick for the best based on these results. And let me know if this isn't as clear as you'd expect or like. I do my best to film this, but it is tricky. But I think it's pretty well captured here who is better and worse and best. But yeah, I say first place 2, third, section 3, second, section 1, third. And back to the studio.
Okay, as you saw, sections 1, 2, and 3. And this is not the order of 1, 2, 3, so don't think I'm teasing you already. Open my notes. So, on the far left, which I think was the weakest of the 3 sections, was Ultimate Polish. This is not a cutter. You can use a little bit more pad and get a little bit more of it, but it really is a finishing light enhancement polish. It'll get rid of your spider webs and some of that. It'll do a clean and dehaze and stuff, but if you have anything medium grade and higher in as far as defects, this is not the one you should be reaching for. That is where Ultimate Compound comes in. Section 2, which is the middle one, was DIY. And to my eyeball, as I say, it looked very good. And the swirling and defects obviously are not even. I think the edges of a hood, if anything, will see more abrasion and impacts, like, people hanging over the hood, working on a car, etc., etc. So I do think this came in first. I think it beat out the Ultimate Compound in correction, but by a narrow margin. Now, as I was saying earlier about the conditions, this is a short throw polisher with not a ton of power behind it. So I did the whole car after doing the hood in a more typical 3 overlapping passes, like next to no pressure, because that's sort of how you should be polishing. You really don't want to be putting pressure down. You're just going to kill your pads and build a bunch of heat, and nothing works great. Again, DIY Detailed goes on and on and on about this. But 3 passes overlapping with that machine and that pad does not cut as much as you saw in the hood. Because I wanted to get into these polishes a little bit more and work them to a point of like getting as much out of them as I could, not sort of like looking at the clock and be like, oh no, I gotta keep going, I gotta blah blah blah. I wanted to work them in and give them a good 1.5, 2 minute long session per polish, somewhere around there. And when you do that, this can remove a ton of defects. But when you do a 3 overlapping pass, short throw machine, it's not taking out as much. Now, the hood was in much better condition than the sides of the car. The sides of the car, which I'm going to overlay if I haven't already, were rough. But you're seeing right now what they looked like after the 3 overlapping passes, the hour and a half long polishing session to do the whole car. And overall, the car looks way better. It's much clearer. The red is much deeper. It looks pretty good, if I say so myself. But overall, For how quickly I could get around the car, totally acceptable. And if you've got softer paint, you might get a bit more out of it. If you do have a big throw machine like a Rupe or something like that, give it a couple more passes. Give it 5 or 6 overlapping passes. It's still going to be quick. You're still only using one pad. You can leave the residue on there and take it off with the rinseless wash and go straight into your sealant or whatever it is you want to use. So I still think overall it is a great system. I think it's very forgiving. It's very non-intimidating, all that kind of stuff. But crazy amounts of correction, you need either a longer machine with the yellow pad, you need to step up to their wool pad, and a longer throw machine. But it does have the ability to wear all those hats, which is nice. You don't, a lot of companies can have take from like crazy defect to zero defect, but they don't do it in one polish. Now, I think they could probably add a more heavy polish in their lineup down the road, and it wouldn't be that crazy to have, one pad to polish sort of thing. But for what you can get out of one polish with one pad and just a little bit longer working session, which again did not dry out, great. I think it was great. I think super user friendly. Washing it out between each section was a breeze. I think I just used a little Tupperware and I just scooped a little bit of rinseless into it, wrung it out. I used less than a gallon of mixed rinseless, so the 256-1. I used less than a gallon of it, guaranteed, to go around the whole car minus the roof because there's a roof box on it. So, yeah, pretty impressed. If you have a longer throw machine, obviously you're going to get a lot more work out of it for the same amount of time. And if you buy one of the other pads, again, you can get more work. But overall, very happy with the polish. I thought it was... Oh, shut up. I thought it was a good system, and it'll probably be my go-to, especially on the Rupe, for my one steps or my... I don't get many people who want to come in here and delete all swirls, so I could see this replacing a whole lot of bottles for me. So yeah, overall, really happy with it. I think if you are on the fence about polishing, or if you're not satisfied with your polishing system and you don't need to be very specific, give it a look. I think it's good. Anyway, thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next one.